Brusha is a breath of fresh air in Dandy's world. She's a character with an antagonistic personality that isn't a total punching bag. Despite being a common, which are usually tuned with one-known personalities, Brusha is actually pretty interesting, and in this video I'll go over her character and I'll also give her a new twisted redesign and rework. To start, let's talk about her. Brusha is a very egotistical toon. She's an artist who claims that whatever she makes is a masterpiece. She thinks all her works are masterpieces because she believes that her art has depth and emotion. That's why she wants Squirm to be a muse, because he conveys a lot of emotion. That's also why she's into abstract art. She thinks it's more refined because it requires a unique perspective to understand, which she thinks that most of the other toons don't have. One quote-unquote nice trait she does have is that she respects others who share her tastes, like Flutter, who is said to be a fan of abstract art. She also respects Blot, probably because he's a mime, and she likes mimes because they usually require some perspective to understand. Even if Brusha respects others of similar tastes, she is also very pretentious and blunt. She has a specific view on what classifies as art, and she will bash your talents if she doesn't see it as art. She doesn't like scraps art because she thinks her crafts are childish, she doesn't see decorating desserts as art, and she doesn't see jokes as art. Because of this ego, the other toons don't want to do stuff with her. Connie even tells her that she isn't invited to parties because of her personality. One interesting thing about this personality is that I don't think she was written this way. One thing Dandy's World has is introduction cards, and the founders made them to tell visitors what the toon's personality should be. Most of the toons act the same as these descriptions say they should act, except for Brusha, who is never characterized as egotistical or mean. This is especially odd because they do call out toons that are bullies like Shrimpo, so it's weird they never mention Brusha when she has a negative personality. We do learn in Dandy's gossip that Brusha got irritable when the show debuted, but we don't really get anything to explain the shift in personality. This is kind of a guess, but we learn that Brusha doesn't like childish things. That's why she doesn't like Scrap's artwork. So knowing that she was made for a children's show, she would probably hate it. To distance herself from her cartoon counterpart, she tries to act adult by doing stuff like abstract art, because this type of art is refined in her eyes. This is also probably why she sees herself as smarter than the other toons. The toons act too close to their show counterparts, and she sees that as childish. She does claim that Sprout is only being nice because the show says he's nice. She also calls out Tisha for showing a habit she had on the show. Even though Brusha is mean, she tries to be better. She gets lessons from Tegan on how to not be a total piece of garbage to everyone. The reason why she wants to be better is unknown at the moment, but it probably has something to do with Tisha, who is Brusha's legitimate friend. The biggest thing going on with Brusha is her relationship with Tisha. They are best friends, and Brusha is actually nice to her. But unfortunately, this relationship is a victim of lore bait. If you don't know what that is, it's when someone only gives us vague implications of what something is instead of just telling us, and Brusha and Tisha's relationship suffers from it. I'm going to critique mode now, and I have two problems with this relationship. We barely know why they're friends, and we don't know how the friendship ended. Under normal circumstances, Brusha would never be friends with Tisha. Tisha is not a complicated character. Her personality is likes cleaning and hates when people don't respect the cleaning she does. Tisha has such a simple personality, it doesn't make sense for Brusha to be friends with her, since she usually dismisses people like this. But we get a possible reason why they became friends. If you don't know, in the art gallery map, Brusha actually has her own set of paintings, and all her paintings are usually purple. But her most important piece is the only one that has a different color, and that color is cyan. It's obviously Tisha's hand. Tisha even makes a comment when she's near the painting. We don't know the exact details on what happened for them to become friends, but Tisha probably offered Brusha a hand during a dark time in her life when no one else was willing to due to her attitude, and Brusha was finally willing to be friends with someone with different tastes. It's a good reason for friendship, and it's probably the reason why Brusha is on a character arc to be better. But all we need is more information about this friendship to confirm this fact. The other big problem to note is that we don't know how Brusha and Tisha had a falling out. All of their elevator conversations basically have Tisha ignoring Brusha, while Brusha desperately tries to get her attention. But Tisha doesn't hate Brusha. She instinctively tries to help Brusha, but something happened between them that caused Tisha to start ignoring her. But the writers don't tell us what happened, and probably won't tell us until their Toon of the Weeks come out. My theory is that it has something to do with Tisha's trait of hating when people don't consider her time and effort for cleaning. Since Brusha is an artist, I would expect the thing that caused their friendship to end is art related. Maybe Brusha made a big mess of paint and Brusha expected Tisha to clean it up because she only sees Tisha as the toon that likes cleaning. After the friendship ended, it actually caused Brusha to stop displaying stuff at the museum, I think. This painting was probably a last attempt to show how important Tisha is to her, but that's just a theory. That's all I have to say about Brusha. She's a character with an interesting personality, whose only problem is a lack of a backstory. Let's now move on with the... Well, what's there to say? She's a common, so the design is going to be disappointing. It's just her toon model, but evil. The cherry on top of unseriousness is that she attacks with a paintbrush. I don't even know why I made this section. Let's just move on to my... Let's first talk about the lore of my redesign. It starts the same as the official one, where Brusha has a falling out with Tisha. She made an art piece specifically for Tisha, the one we see in the museum. But she got carried away with the paint and it caused a big mess. Brusha brings Tisha to the room where she made the art piece and is excited to show it to her. When Tisha enters the room, due to her cleaning obsessed tunnel vision, she doesn't see the painting. She only sees a completely messy room. Tisha then scolds Brusha for the mess and breaks off their friendship because she thought Brusha had brought her there just to clean. She then leaves the room unaware of the painting that Brusha made for her. Brusha is now alone in the room, and at first she's distraught. She lost the only friend she has. But due to Brusha's ego and the events that just happened, she just feels anger. Anger towards everything. Anger towards the other toons for being simple-minded, and angry at Tisha for ignoring her painting. She then has an epiphany. It's not her fault. Everyone was just dumb, and they need to be enlightened. She then turns twisted with a new goal of bringing people to her level. That's the lore of my redesign. Let's actually go to the making of it. For the design, I want it to be abstract, just like the art she makes. If she can't inspire people with her paintings, she will have to make herself a vessel that inspires people. Side tangent, one of the biggest inspirations for this design and rewrite was Eve from No Straight Roads. I asked in my community post if anybody knew who Eve was, and at least 3 of you know her, which was nice to hear. If you don't know who that is, she's also an artist that likes to make abstract art. Also, she would probably be best friends with Brusha because they have very similar personalities. Anyway, back to the design. To make her extract, I just gave her different shapes as body parts, and I also made her torso into a tornado thing. I was trying to incorporate the apron into the design, but it never looked right, so I went without it. For the head, to keep it recognizable, I kept the brush shape, but to make it interesting, I put eyes all around the body because her Tisha painting had eyes, and also a lot of abstract art has big emphasis on eyes. To take it a step further, I used different pupils from the other toons to represent the varying perspectives she has on things. The last thing to mention is that most of the colors she will have are purple to match her paintings, just for consistency. With that, here's the final render. The reason she has multiple versions of herself will be answered in a second. Let's just move on to the... Weeping angels are a popular mechanic in horror games. There's even one in another Delver-like game. Even though you see it everywhere, it's a solid mechanic. If you don't know what a weeping angel is, it's a monster that only moves when you don't look at it. I gave Brusha this mechanic to reflect her ego. Her ego is so inflated that she needs to be looked at or she will become angry. She would act more like the statues from Dark Deception, where when you look away, she will be in another exotic pose to show that she's unpredictable. To further the unpredictability, if you look at her for too long, let's say 15 seconds, a paint puddle will appear from the ground and she will submerge into it and go to a new location to try and surprise you. Since she's a weeping angel, she will be one of the fastest twisteds in the game, so you better be alert at all times, or you might be caught off guard. One extra mechanic to make her creepy and more difficult is that whenever you arrive on the floor with her, there will be loads of fake statues of her placed around the map. Twisted Brusha will be hiding among the statues, so be cautious. She created them to show the other toons what a true masterpiece looks like. With that, those are the mechanics. Let's move on to... Since I want Brusha to be more of a stalker character, the only sounds will be footsteps. Here's what it sounds like. At first I wanted to sound more paint-like, but I felt like the plaster sounding footstep matched better because she's supposed to be half paint, half statue, but I don't know. With that, that's my Brusha redesign, and I hope you liked it. Now, I would like to thank you for now having 5,000 subscribers. The next video will be different, more personal. I was originally going to make a video about meeting Qwel, but that's all I have to say. I hope you have a good day, and see you later.